sometimes it's hard because of our pride to just let go of certain things because we feel that certain sense of machismo where we're not going to let the world or our family or the people who love us dictate how we're going to behave and the choices we're going to make. We're tough by God, and nothing's going to break us down. We pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. But sometimes life knocks you down. I woke up in my early 30s and said, this is not who I am and this is not who I want to be. Anger and frustration and stress and anxiety can make your mind a little bit drunk on circumstances as well. You don't give a place from which the devil can strategically operate in your life. These are serious days we're living in. And I want us to hear God. It can always be worse. But you know what? It can always be better. To whoever calls on the name of the Lord will be rescued, will be saved. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Chad Prather Show. You have been hanging in there with us for a long time, and I really appreciate it. If you're new to the show, welcome. I'll tell you what to expect. The unexpected, craziness, and a little bit of common sense, we hope. I want to always give you something to hang your hat on in these episodes. And so in this one, it's just me, no guests. I want to talk to you, get a couple of things off my heart. I want to take you a couple of different directions today. So maybe we'll break this down into a couple of different segments. And then, of course, we want to thank our sponsors along the way. You guys have been with me for a long time. You're like family at this point. You've seen my highs, my lows, my ups and downs. And life is a weird thing. It has been for you. And the beauty of it is because we've gotten to know one another as family, I know what you're going through too. I know about your losses. I know about your tragedies. I hear we've had people who are members of the Fact Pack who have passed away over the years, and we still mourn them because it's like losing a family member. This has just been a cool family to be a part of this program. And who knew that 9-10 years ago, whenever I got into the world of podcasting, that it would develop such an incredible audience. And so I want to say thank you for being a part of what we do. This is a valuable part of my life. I don't see myself ever doing anything else besides this, really, no matter what. I think that this is a great avenue and a great platform to be able to put things out there. And so it's not relevant if you're not a part of it. You are an integral part of this show's success. And so I always encourage you to go leave those 5-star reviews and leave a rating and then the review, because what that does is it basically tells the algorithm that the show is relevant. They promote it a little higher up in the categories, and it makes it a little bit easier to find. So I appreciate you doing that, and anytime that you can share the show, even if it's the audio versions, just click share, put it over on X or Instagram or on Facebook, or share the Rumble or the YouTube. It's a great service to me, and I really appreciate it. These are fun days we're living in, folks. It's chaotic. I went viral over the weekend, this past weekend. Of course, by the time you watch this will be a few days past. But I went viral over the weekend with a post where I basically finally came out and told my audience and my friends, I said, this is a time in my life where I decided to stop, drinking alcohol. And I opened up about it, about my journey. And I let everybody know. The post went crazy. I don't know. There was probably about 100,000 reactions to it alone, multiple shares, thousands and thousands of shares of this post. And the gist of it was this. I said that it's not that I had a drinking problem or an addiction per se. I didn't stop drinking and suddenly go into shakes and detox or anything like that. And I'll walk you through the process a little bit of what happened to me. But you guys who know me, you know that I've always kind of identified with bourbon or whiskey or tequila. You guys know that I've been a big fan of those things from the craftsman perspective. Like, I appreciate what goes into making those things, not drinking it just for the purpose of getting high off of alcohol. I actually enjoy the process of it, and I'm a fan of it. And there's a huge community out there. So, I've always appreciated that and identified with that in a big way. But it hit a point where I said, there's other things going on in my life. I wasn't dealing with an alcohol problem as much as I was dealing with an exhaustion problem and an anger problem and a short fuse problem and an anxiety and depression problem. And a stress problem where you have so many things that are, and I used to always say that if you drink, typically the attitude that you have when you go into the bottle is going to be magnified. Sort of like Bill Cosby used to say about people who do drugs, where he said, the person says, well, I do drugs because it intensifies my personality. And he says, well, but what if you're an asshole? Well, that's problematic because it magnifies the assholery of you. And I just found that if I was frustrated, that the alcohol made it easier for the frustration to come out. Now that's a problem because whereas it feels good and therapeutic for you to vomit all over everybody, the people that are getting vomited on with your problems, that is not good. How many times have you ever been around somebody that's been drinking, day drinking all afternoon? You show up to meet them for happy hour or dinner, and you're not on their level, and they're already up here in fifth gear, and you're just trying to play catch up. It's a frustrating way to be sometimes. And I felt like I was that guy. I was that guy who was one level above everybody all the time, either with energy and excitement, anticipation, and just eagerness to get to the next thing because there's so many things going on that I love. But then you add alcohol to it, and it's like, okay, I'm outrunning everybody. I'm not communicating well. And it got to a point where over the years, I just felt like there's a problem because I can't just let this go. I needed it as a crutch, as a Band-Aid, as a self-medicating tool. And I found myself escaping from the things that I needed to deal with in my life rather than facing them head on. So just a backstory. You guys know I'm 51 years old. I'm half 100. I'm at a point in life where hopefully some wiser perspectives are winning out. You hope that as you mature, that you start to develop things like patience and a wider field of vision and understanding and grace. But let's face it, we're still men. And men are dumb, and men do and say dumb things, and we make bad decisions sometimes. And sometimes it's hard because of our pride to just let go of certain things because we feel that certain sense of machismo where we're not going to let the world or our family or the people who love us dictate how we're going to behave and the choices we're going to make. We're tough by God, and nothing's going to break us down. We pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. But sometimes life knocks you down. Listen, when I was 17 years old, I wanted to drink alcohol. I thought that's what the cool kids did. I didn't like the taste of beer. I didn't like the taste of whiskey, but I forced myself to do it. And from the age of 17, as I finished high school into my freshman year of college at the University of Georgia, I drank. It was part of my identity. It was a party. It was something that college freshmen did when you were away from home for the first time, and But I saw even then that it was not good for my life because I was going a little hard, and there's certain situations that happen in my life where, quite honestly, I'm fortunate to still be alive. Many of you have those stories like that. You guys know that I love Patriot Mobile. They are good friends and great patriots. And, they realize that Americans are tired. They're tired and frustrated by the stalling economy, the inflation, the endless wars, the relentless assault on our values. And thankfully, folks over at Patriot Mobile, they got your back. They still believe in America. They believe in our Constitution, and I'm so proud over the years to have partnered with them and continue to do it because Patriot Mobile, they're on the front lines, man. They're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're fighting for the First and Second Amendments, the sanctity of life, our military and first responder heroes. I want you to take a stand with them on conservative causes and put America first by switching over to Patriot Mobile today. You're going to get the same nationwide coverage as the big providers because Patriot Mobile, they operate on all three major networks, plus they back their service with a full coverage guarantee. Their 100% U.S.-based customer service team will take care of you. They will find the best plan for your needs. You can keep your number, keep your phone, or you can upgrade, and they'll help. Go to patriotmobile.com/Chad or call them 972-PATRIOT. You do it right now, you get a free month when you use the offer code CHAD. You know I spell it Chad. Use that offer code and don't get fooled by the other providers pretending to share your values or have the same coverage. They don't, and they can't. So join me. Switch to America's only Christian conservative mobile provider. That's Patriot Mobile. Go to patriotmobile.com/Chad. Call them 972-PATRIOT. Get your free month of service today. Use that promo code Chad. Hang tight. We'll be right back. At the age of 19, I stopped drinking, and I did not drink again. With the exception of my 21st birthday. I did go buy a six-pack on my 21st birthday because it was legal to do, and I had a couple of beers. But I didn't drink again until around the age of 28 years old. So almost a decade that I went without alcohol. And suddenly alcohol became a solution for me. It became something that in the middle of marital difficulties, of the stresses of life, of not knowing who I was and where I was going career-wise or where the directions of my life were, I found an easy escape in alcohol. And whiskey, wine, those particular things, I was consuming copious amounts of them at that stage in the game until finally one day I woke up in my early 30s and said, this is not who I am and this is not who I want to be. And so I stopped drinking yet again. And occasionally I would have a drink. I had not just quit drinking. I just didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be a drunk person. And then another phase of my life hit somewhere in my mid-30s, and call it a midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it, I don't know. But again, I found my escape in alcohol. You know how this yo-yo story goes. A lot of you have lived it. Some people, they'll do that for a month at a time. They'll do it for 6 weeks. And I'm not the guy who's going to tell you that drinking in and of itself is evil. You know, the Apostle Paul says that, he says to the church in Corinth, he says, listen, it may be a sin for you to eat meat that's been sacrificed to idols. He said, I don't have that problem. There's no condemnation in my heart for doing these things. He said, but nevertheless, when I'm around you, I won't eat that meat because I'm afraid it's going to offend you. And so if it offends my brother, I'm not going to do it either. Paul was saying, listen, all things are legal for me, but not all things are profitable. And I think that's where we fall into the category biblically of alcohol. Yes, there's evidence that Jesus and his disciples drank wine in John chapter 2, the wedding at Cana, the very first miracle that Jesus performed, that his mother actually pushed him to perform, was to create really good wine out of water, to the point where the master of the feast came out and made an announcement and said, usually at these weddings, you guys serve the good wine first, and when everybody is well drunk, then you bring out the cheap stuff. But he says, you've saved the good wine for the last. There's so much symbolism and allegory and metaphor in that story of turning the water into wine. But it's also evidence that these people partook in alcoholic beverage. If you think that it was just grape juice, I've got news for you. There was a reason why they accused Jesus of being a glutton, and the phrase a wine bibber, that was their way of saying he was a fat drunk, because of the celebratory nature, the joy that he exuded. They just figured this guy is somebody so high on life, he must be a glutton and a wine bibber. To accuse somebody of being drunk, you don't do that if it's just simply wine juice. So I assure you, if you know anything about ancient history, the Romans weren't sitting around drinking grape juice. They simply weren't. And so there is the use of alcohol. I also understand the book of Ephesians says, do not be drunk with wine, in which is debauchery. In other words, you're going to lose your inhibitions, you lose your conscience, and you just get engaged in things that if you were sober-minded, you would not engage in. But even that is not a necessary prohibition, and I know many of you will disagree with me, but it's not a prohibition of the use of alcohol. That would be stretching it. Now, to get drunk is another thing. To get to a point of inebriation where you can't make good decisions, that's another thing, and that's between you and God. You've got to make that decision. I do know that the Scripture talks about being of a more sober mind, and I can tell you it doesn't always require alcohol for me to have an unsober mind. Sometimes anger and frustration and stress and anxiety, those things that I talked about, depression, those things can make your mind a little bit drunk on circumstances as well. It doesn't necessarily mean a fermented drink, but I do think that we're living in serious times. I think that the ages are demanding that we focus. You've heard me talk about so many times the need for critical thinking, the need for complexity of thought, the need for common sense. And I hit a point where in a moment of anger, a few weeks ago, a while back, I hit a point in a moment of frustration and anger, and I said, Chad, this is not who you are. This is not who you are as a man. It's not who you are as a soul. It's not who you are as a spirit. What is causing you to feel this? And I prayed, and I began to ask God to reveal to me what the problem was. And I saw a very clear picture that it was things like alcohol that were making my issues bigger. So I'm not the guy who's going to preach at you and say, you better stop drinking or else. I'm not going to give you that type of message here today. I'll tell you my story, and I'll tell you what happened when I made the post. When I made the post on Facebook, the next day I shared it over on Instagram, but on Facebook it went crazy. My phone erupted. My phone erupted with great messages. My phone erupted with messages from people, men specifically, men who were saying, Chad, I'm at a point in life where I need help. I literally, right before we counted in here and started recording, someone sent me a message and said, I'm using alcohol, a text message that said, I'm using alcohol to self-medicate. I have issues with my back, and he said, but I know it's just I'm just covering over with a Band-Aid. I got to deal with it. I had another message from someone who said that his wife and his children deserve a better version of him, and he knows that alcohol is hindering that. I received a message from someone who said that they intend to stop drinking on the 1st of September because they had a couple of things they needed to get through. I had a message from a very dear friend who told me that he's been wanting to quit. He believes that was confirmation for him to stop drinking, and he took his huge collection of bottles of bourbon and tequila and sold them to a collector. I didn't ask for all of that. Like, I wasn't expecting that type of response. I just simply, when I made the decision to stop drinking, I immediately called certain people that travel with me on a regular basis. Party Foul Steve, Steve Helms, Ben McPherson, Jesse Payton, Dustin Sims, different ones, people that were out there. Trey Newman, different guys who know me and spend extended times with me. And I said, look, I'm done drinking. And you know how that goes. They kind of roll their eyes at you and think, yeah, he'll change his mind. And all the alcohol in my house that was in my bar, I said, Steve and Ben were there that weekend. I said, I want y'all to take it. Take it home with you. I don't want it. You could throw it away. I don't care. It's not a temptation to me. It's just I don't want it in my house. So you can have it. Take it. And they did. So it's an adjustment for everybody around you. I've joked around about it that women, stereotyping, of course, women can go out. Men will buy their drinks. They don't have to pay for a thing. If you want to be a guy that never pays for a drink, just go out with your buddies and tell them you're not drinking that night. They'll make sure that you do. They'll start giving you shots and pouring you beers and everything else. They'll put it on their tab. But I just hit a point where I said, I'm not going to do that anymore. And it's been a great decision for me. Now, I had an epiphany, for lack of better terms, at 5:30 in the morning. I was driving in my truck, and an overwhelming sense of joy came into my soul. And the joy was one that said, you have the ability to get to know yourself again. You've hidden from yourself. You've escaped from yourself. And you've drowned your sorrows in a way that has never truly healed you. I'm a person who has experienced trauma in life numerous times. We all have. Listen, that doesn't set me up as any different. We've all suffered that trauma. And if you don't deal with it properly, it's like taking a wound. Let's say you get a cut on your arm, and then you just take it and you just wrap it up in a bandage. Well, if you don't clean that wound, if you don't really put the antiseptic to it and address it and dress it and put the stitches in there and then put the ointments and the antibiotics and the medicines to it and then cover it up and then occasionally let the sun hit it and the air hit it so that it heals properly. If you're just simply covering your trauma, then it's going to fester, it's going to become gangrene, it's going to become infected, and like a limb on your body, it's got to be cut off. And you know what? There's parts of you that need to be healed, and you're cutting them off. Stop cutting them off. Stop using, if this is what you're doing, if you're using drugs to cut off that part of your memory or your life, stop. If you're using alcohol to cut off those parts of your life and your memory, stop. I want to encourage you to open the wound up and address it and take a good hard look at it and say, what are your issues? I will tell you what my issues are. I'll be very transparent with you. You guys who know me, you know that there's no pride left here. I will be as transparent because I know that with this platform comes a lot of responsibility. And if it helps one single person, you can humiliate me all you want. I'm just telling you My issues, my trauma was a sense of abandonment. It was a sense of rejection. It was a sense of fear. Those things, abandonment, rejection, and fear, those three spirits were operating in my life, and they were taking control. I am a confident person. I am a secure person. If you've ever been around me, I don't walk in insecurity. I did at one point in time in my life. I did. One of the reasons that I picked up alcohol in the first place is because I was insecure. I was shy. I was somewhat introverted. I didn't want to be introverted. I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to talk to girls. I didn't know how to be social. I was awkward. I grew up down in the woods, for crying out loud. So when I'd get around people, I didn't really know how to interact because I was not one of the crew. I was not one of the group. Two things gave me somewhat of a social standing. It was playing baseball and drinking alcohol. When I would drink alcohol, it would help me lower my inhibitions, and it would help boost my sense of security so that I could come out of my shell. Well, I don't live there anymore. I live much more comfortable in my own skin these days. And I knew that I didn't need alcohol to help me lose my inhibitions. If anything in my life, I could probably use a few more inhibitions and kind of, calm my crap down a little bit. But I realized that rejection and a sense of abandonment and a sense of fear had settled in on my life. There was, and no need to go into the details of why those particular three, but they were there. They were there. And let me tell you something. The Bible says, do not give a foothold to the devil. There's two things to that word foothold. The word foothold in that context is both a legal term and a military term. You don't give a place from which the devil can strategically operate in your life. You don't give him a place for footing so that he can fire those arrows at you, okay? Now, legally, contractually, we do that with these spirits. And I know some of you are going, where in the world are we going with this thing? I'm telling you, there is a God. And if there is a God, there is also a devil. And if Satan is alive, and I believe that he is, he may not be well, but he may be defeated, but he is working as hard as he can to bring people down, both non-believers and believers. For you believers out there, if you give a foothold to the devil, if you give a contractually legal place for him to set up a strategic stronghold in your life, I promise you, he will wreak as much hell in your life, in your mind, your will, and emotions as he possibly can. What happens is it's like an access road. Let's say you own a large piece. Let's say you own 100 acres, and I come along and I buy a quarter acre on the back of your property. Legally, you have to give me an access road. I have to be able to cut a road through your property so I can get to my property. If you are dealing with unresolved things in your life, whether it is unforgiveness, resentment, those trauma issues we talked about, these so many different things that are there, you can pick your issue. If you are giving attention to that and a place for that to set up camp in your life, you are basically giving the enemy a legal access road to run through your soul so he can access that spot. You have got to take back the territory in your soul. Take it back in your mind. You got to take it back in your emotions. Many of us are an emotional wreck. You got to take it back in your volition and your will. And you do that by making the right choices. So at 5:30 one morning, I'm in my truck. The sun is not up. I had a revelation of joy. It changed my mind. I said, I want to get to know the real me again. And God, if you'll help me by your grace, I'm going to make some decisions, not just about alcohol. I'm going to make some decisions about my life across the board because I haven't always made the right decisions. In fact, much of the last 30 years, I've spent my adult life stepping on landmines everywhere I go. And it's caused me to be a little bit bone on bone raw. Yeah, quite honestly, raw. It's caused me to lose my graciousness because I've lost my grace. And I want to be careful with that, especially as I enter into my older age. I want to operate with more grace. But with that moment of joy, I realized that there's so many things that I've been robbing myself from having and doing. I know what the inside of a couple of jail cells look like. I know. Some I was there rightfully, some I was there wrongfully. But either way, I know what those, if you've been around me, I've told you those stories. They're quite humorous now looking back. But I know what the inside of a jail cell looks like. I know what the inside of the jail feels like. And trust me, there is a definite feeling of being behind bars. It's not one you want to repeat. I know what it's like to be in a fight and hear things coming out of your mouth, or to be in a rage or frustration and hear things coming out of you that you know you're not the one saying them. It's simply being controlled. And you feel sort of like a hidden person deep inside of yourself, and you are on the outside in a rage and in anger and in frustration. And deep inside, you're going, shut up. What are you doing? What are you saying? Why are you saying these things? Why are you behaving? Why are you punching the wall here? What is wrong with you? And you can't make it stop. Folks, that's how we take back our mind, will, and emotions. We've got to do that and stop giving legal access to an enemy that wants to destroy our lives. There's so many regrets that we have, And so I said, I'm going to eliminate those things that cause me to make decisions or say those things that lead to regret. I want to wake up with a clean conscience. I want to wake up every morning feeling good. I want to wake up rested. I don't want to pass out because I consumed so much alcohol that I spent the night tossing and turning and snoring and choking on my own slobber and spit. I don't want to be that person anymore. I wake up every day now with a renewed sense of vigor and hope. And listen, I've always been an optimistic, hopeful person, but I now wake up feeling better, like physically refreshed. I know that alcohol is something that can consume you to the point where you not only are is your mind cloudy and your ability to make decisions hindered, but man, it can lead to failure in every single organ in your body. It causes your skin to look like garbage. It dehydrates yourself. If you're depressed, alcohol is a larger depressant. To continue guzzling it down every single day is not going to lead you to a happy, fulfilled life. You know what I'm saying is true. You know what I'm saying is true. And you say, well, listen, if you're not drinking, there's more for me. Well, cheers and salute. Chin, chin. I wish you well. I do. Drink to your health. Unfortunately, we're not. And within a matter of days without alcohol, I felt new. My eyes were clear. I was refreshed. I don't want to continue drinking something that could potentially cause me heart failure or cancer or looking bad, feeling bad, and the rest of the world is out there arguing for you to do it. They're like almost putting a judgment on you for not doing it. So that's why I was so encouraged by so many people who sent me messages and said that they were either inspired, men, particularly men, because men are hard. Men are tough. But men sending me messages saying, hey, I got to try. I got to do this. I know it's going to be hard when I go on the road and I'm at that hotel by myself and there's a bar and I'm bored, I'm alone, and I just want to go have a drink. I know. Trust me. I know what that feels like. I was in the shower a couple of weeks ago. I was headed to Springfield, Missouri for a show. And in the shower, I was like, I don't really want to get on the plane today. I don't want to travel. I love doing the show, love Springfield, but I didn't want to get on the plane and go travel that day. And I was like, just go out there. You get to do it. It's great. You get to spend time with some great people, great audience, great friends, and you can pour yourself a cocktail. You can drink on the plane. And it caught me. I go, no, you can't. That's not what you do anymore. That's not who you are. That's not what you do. And even in that moment, that decision made for me was one that refreshed me and encouraged me. And suddenly I was excited again. I was excited about being able to go and try new experiences. And we were at the Eagles Lodge for that show. Great crowd. And let me tell you something, one big old bar down at the end of that deal. And Gio, I tell you, if I was going to drink, that was the night I was going to drink. But I didn't drink. There were several people who came up to me and said, man, you don't have a drink in your hand. Let me get you a drink. I was like, I promise you I'm okay. Bring me a water. And you guys that know me know that I don't like drinking water. So here we are. I just want to say those words because I want you to be encouraged. I want you to feel good about where you are in life. And if there are certain things that are stopping you from moving forward, then let's figure out a way together to abandon those things. I made a post on social media recently, sitting in the cab of the truck, where I was talking about how do you find God's will? How do you find God's will? How do you know if you're living in God's will? And I said that the ultimate arbiter of peace, or the ultimate arbiter of God's will is peace. And when you find that peace, The peace will tell you whether or not you're walking in God's will. So if I can take my life and my decisions and say, this lines up with the Bible, this lines up with what God tells me about life, and when I do it, it brings me peace, then I know that there's a good chance that my direction and God's will for my life are synonymous at this point. That's the umpire, peace. So if doing things God's way, if that's the kingdom of God, Jesus talked about the kingdom of God is at hand. What that means is you can literally reach out and put your hand on it. The kingdom of God is not some heavenly experience. It's not something celestial. It's not otherworldly. It's simply God's way of doing things. It's God's way of governing. And when you do things according to God's governance, it brings order. That order will bring peace. That's why Jesus was a prince. That's a government title of peace. You want to have peace, you got to have order. You want to have order, things have got to operate according to the way it's governed. Okay, your car goes down the road. It doesn't break apart on a bumpy road because there's peace inside, and everything's working in order because an engineer and an architect governed how that order was going to be. And so you can have a smooth ride, okay? I want you to have a smooth ride in life. Yes, there's going to be bumps and there's going to be obstacles and there's going to be pitfalls and potholes, but you can ride through life with a certain amount of peace if you have the right governance in your life. That governance is doing things God's way. Now, God's never going to violate the word. He's never going to violate you. He's never going to put something on you that is just going to crush you. Oh, he'll put some weight on you that you think you're being crushed. Paul says to the Corinthians, he says, now no temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man. And so you're being tempted with everything that everybody else is being tempted with. But that's why it says that Jesus, who is the last Adam, he was touched with all of our infirmities. You're not going through anything that Jesus hasn't been tempted with or carried himself, okay? That's why this idea of self-denial and self-crucifixion, and as Jesus said, pick up your cross and carry it daily, there is a weight, there is a burden that is carried in this life, but that burden is liberating. In fact, there's a refreshing joy of knowing that that burden is on your life. When the burden is removed, when the conviction is removed, that's when we have a problem. It's one of the reasons why the writer of Hebrews says, listen, you need to count it joy. You need to be excited and happy when God disciplines you, because he only disciplines those whom he loves. He only disciplines sons. So if he's not disciplining you, then you might be illegitimate. You might not be a part of the family. So he says, you will yield the peaceable or peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by God's discipline. So when that weight is on you, when that pressure, that conviction is on you, it's a good thing. Some of you are feeling that right now. You're listening to this. God's reminding you of certain things. It may not be alcohol. It may be something else. It might be another habit. It might be an addiction. It might be some unforgiveness that you're carrying around. It might be something that you can't release somebody from. You have contractually obligated yourself to someone else to be connected with them forever. You've created a soul tie. Maybe it's an old relationship that you haven't forgiven, or an old relationship that you can't turn loose of, or an old relationship that you resent, or that you've become jealous over, or you've gotten to a point where you say, I can't move on because this person, their actions, I get on Instagram and I'm scrolling through the reels and boom, there they are living their best life. And I see that and I'm broken and I'm like, yeah, that person's forgotten all about me. They don't care about me anymore. Who was I? I wasted my life investing in them and now I can't let it go. Stop doing that. That's not a mature perspective. It's not a mature perspective to rely on certain emotions as a crutch. It's not a mature perspective to rely on certain things as a crutch. As a mature man, I should be able to walk through life being fully satisfied in what God has blessed me with. And God, as John Piper has said, is most glorified in us when we're most satisfied in him. So let God be a satisfier for you. As the writer said in the Psalms, as a deer pants for the water, so my soul pants after you. I want God to be the one who satisfies me. That's a hard thing to do. And you guys know me. I'm rough as a cob. I will walk down to the barn, call your mule out, and then tell you that your mule's ugly. Okay, I don't care. I will tell you the truth. I'm very transparent. I'm very blunt. I'm very abrasive. Cindy, that works with me, she told me just this morning on the phone, she said, Chad, you like to argue. And I'm like, I don't like to argue. I just like to be heard, which is a difficult thing for men. It comes across as argumentative. So I have to be careful with that. I have to be careful with the way I communicate because I say things without a lot of thought sometimes, and it's taken the wrong way. So I remind you, there's certain ways that we have to be where we control our mind, renew our mind, and we change our soul, change our way of doing things, change our conversation, and get a more mature perspective. Get a more mature perspective. I want to see if I can find this here. I wasn't planning on doing this. Gio is sitting in for Shy. Shy is overseas. He's not like at war or anything. He's over there in Italy living his best life. And I want to see if I can find this passage of scripture. It's been a minute since I've read this thing. And let's see if I can find it, G. But it talks about, it's over in 1 John. It might be 2 John. Let's see. They're short little chapters, so I could take a look at it. So this is some good dead air here. The second letter of John. Let's see. I'm not going to be able to find it, am I? I wish I had my readers on. That's the problem. Can't see. Let's see. Anyway, I think it's over in 1 John. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. Can't see because I don't have my readers on, but we'll do it. I'll tell you basically where he says, come on. I know it's right there. This is not my normal, everyday pages falling out Bible. But basically where he talks about sons and fathers, where he talks about, his putting a burden on the sons to do certain things in the community of faith and putting the burden on fathers. And when he's talking about the older generation, the people who should be overseers, the people who are elders, the people who have the wider field of vision. And he's talking about how the young men are going to have a narrow field of vision and the older men, they got a wider field of vision. So there's different responsibilities. And so the point in all of that is that as we get older, I want us to have a broader vision. I want us to have a broader field of how we see the world. And that's a mature perspective. That's something where you can truly help people and help see a bigger horizon than what they see. Because it's easy for us to get lost in tunnel vision. It's easy for us to get laser focused. Well, the thing about a laser is it can hurt or it can heal. If we're laser focused and we're misusing that focus, it can hurt a lot of people that are around us. But if you get that focus and you're using it right with wisdom and understanding and practice and experience, it can be used to heal. So I want you to pay attention to the things that you're focused on, and I want you to ask yourself, am I using these passions and my vision? Are these things that mean so much in my life, are they being used to hurt or are they being used to heal? Because the difference in that is the mature perspective. Are you a son or a father? Now, there's a place for both. But young men tend to have a very narrow field of vision. Older men, they've experienced things, it tends to open up. They see the horizon a little bit bigger. I want us to get a more mature perspective. I want us to get to a point where we're not, carried about and tossed about by every wind and trickery of doctrine or teaching or thing that comes along. And as I said earlier, these are perilous times we're living in. We're living in a vacuous void of leadership in this country. We're living in a day and age where we don't know if our institutions are for us or against us. We don't know if our elections are valid and fair. We don't know if they even work. We don't know if the people that we're sending to represent us are truly going with the best intentions. We see the headlines that are bombarding us with violence in the streets, to war across the seas, and we're living and we're looking at all of these things going, what do we do? Well, my best solution for you is to embrace the kingdom of God, his way of doing things, get your life in order, and find peace. As for me, I'm taking baby steps. I'm taking baby steps to broaden my vision again. As I stated, one of those things is I knew that I couldn't be sober-minded and still consume alcohol. I knew that I couldn't be sober-minded and still pursue all of the different things that I'm pursuing in life. So I'm in the strategic process of eliminating certain things that I do on a daily and weekly and monthly basis because I want to be very effective in the days ahead, both with my words, with the things that I'm saying to you, because I take great responsibility in the fact that you are lending me your ears and your brains and your hearts, your mind and your emotions. I want to be careful with those kind of things. So, this is where we live, folks. And these are times to be serious. I'm all for joking. You guys know that. I'm all about going out, having a good time, telling a good joke, having fun, telling a funny story. And I'll continue to do those things as God wills and He permits. But these are serious days we're living in. And I want us to hear God. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, Chad, you have pretty good intuition, pretty good insight. And some would say that you actually hear what God's saying to you. And I said, well, sometimes that's a blessing, sometimes that's a curse. Sometimes I wouldn't trade it, but sometimes it's a very hard thing. So maybe a curse is a strong word, but sometimes it's a hard thing because it puts a certain responsibility on you to deliver a certain message or to say a certain thing that can be very, very hard. Sometimes it's a message I don't want to deliver. Sometimes I know things about people that I don't want to know. And so, but I will say this, God doesn't talk to anybody that if He doesn't have a redemptive purpose in it. So when God talks to you, He's wanting to set you free or somebody else free. He's not trying to hinder you or put you in shackles or put you in chains or put you behind bars. He's really trying to set you free, or He's delivering a message for you to give that's going to set somebody else free, which is why this is so heavy on my heart right now, because I had no idea until I started reading the thousands upon thousands of comments and getting the messages that were coming to my phone of people who were saying either thank you or telling me their testimony of what they've been through, specifically with alcohol or their family with alcohol. Everybody in the world, everybody, particularly in this country, every single one of you have been affected in some way, in some fashion, in a negative way with alcohol. Every one of you. Every one of you. And I don't want you to look back and say, I could have moved forward, but there was this thing that stopped me. Let go of whatever's making you stop. Let go of whatever's slowing you down. And so for me, I know when God's sort of telling me something. One, because as I said, there's peace. Two, I've put a lot of the word in my heart, in my mind. And so when God goes fishing, He doesn't throw the hook and the bait into the fishing. He doesn't throw it in the swimming pool. He throws it in a place where He can actually catch something and bring it back up. And so that's different ways that God speaks to us. And we know that's what His will is for our lives. Does that mean we're going to stop stepping on landmines? No. Sometimes God blows us up on purpose. He blows us up on purpose because that's the only way we can learn. It's the only way He can get our attention. So folks, I want you to be encouraged. I really do. I want you to be encouraged. I am not trying to be that guy, and I promise you I'm not going to be that guy who uses his platform to say, you better stop drinking or else. I'm just telling you, this is my journey. And so many people have asked me questions. I said, I'm going to take an episode, and I want to talk about it. I don't want to be that guy who's up and down on a roller coaster, as I said, blown about with different emotions, different ideas, and ultimately living with the consequences of those things, because those hurricanes of life leave one heck of a wake. And there's a lot of debris that gets left behind. So I'm encouraging you guys, and honestly, I'm praying for you. As I pray for myself, I lift you up as well, and I say there are those, particularly men, I'm going to keep saying that, particularly men, I'm talking to you men, who are trying to figure out who your identity would be if suddenly you removed certain things from your life. Could people relate to you if you go to the event and you're not holding a cocktail? Can you still carry on a conversation? I know what it felt like for me when I jumped on stage for the first time, dead sober, zero alcohol. Now, I mean, trust me, I've been on stage many times without drinking, but to walk out in front of a big crowd, a big audience, and there's nothing on board, man. There's no alcohol, there's nothing to just kind of let you relax. You just go out there and you're like, it's just me and you. There's no other spirits involved here. It's a different experience if that's what you're used to. It is. But somebody said, how do you go to these events and not drink or, not look like you're drinking? I said, well, I don't have a problem. I personally don't have a problem with that. You can give me a bottle of water, and I sit there and drink that water. Other people I've said, listen, pour you a glass of a Topo Chico or a mineral water or a sparkling water and put a lime in it. You can look like you're having a cocktail. It gives your hands something to do, and you can drink it every now and then. And just get high on life and high on the conversation around you. And then I've had people who have said, hey, Chad, why don't you try these different drinks over here that have whatever THC and CBD in them and all that. And I was like, listen, that's all fine and well and good, but I'm not going to replace one thing with another thing. I'm clean is clean, and I want to be clean. And people say, well, you can have a little drink every now and then. I was like, no, for me now I can't, and I don't want to. And that's okay, because I don't want to wake up tomorrow going, at this stage in the game. Now, again, as I alluded to earlier, there have been times in my life where I said, I can drink this, and this is not sin for me. At this stage in the game, it's become sin for me. Make sense, Gio? It's just become sin for me, because I know that God's told me he's got something different for me. He's got something different for me. And that's not a condemnation of those of you who do drink alcohol. It's not a condemnation to anybody out there. I just want you to know that that's where I'm living. And it's good, man. It is so good. I don't feel like anything's been taken away from me. I don't feel like anything has been lost or left behind. I'm so excited about the days ahead. This may be the message that I deliver, and who knows, God may be done with me and take me to heaven tomorrow. I don't know. But if he does, that's in his economy, and that's in his good decision, and that mystery is wrapped up in his mind, and I can't try to figure that out, because there's some things I don't have to worry about. I was listening to, there's a clip going around. It's an old awards show where you got Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson on stage, and they were presenting an award or whatever, and they were talking about how they relate to each other as friends. And McConaughey's telling the story about how Woody, in the way he is, he said how Woody would give him advice. He said he was going through something hard in his life, and it was a difficult circumstance. He was telling Woody about it, and Woody looked him in the eye, because McConaughey said, what should I do about this? And Woody looked at him and said, I just forget about it. Now, most things in your life, you can't just forget about it, but there's also a way to get past it so that you can put it in the rearview mirror and you don't have to worry about it anymore. And then you can just forget about it. Deal with the things that you're dealing with in life. That's the mature perspective, and that's what I want you to walk away from today. I'm not going to belabor this point. It's been a pure joy to be able to share with you sort of where I am and get this off the chest. It's a as I've always said, this for me is therapeutic, whether I'm giving you the videos in the truck or live feed videos, or I'm doing it right here on the podcast set. It's a blessing to be able to talk to you. And maybe some of those words resonate with you, and maybe you think I'm just full of it. And half the time, you're probably right, maybe more than half. But I appreciate you guys, man. And so I don't want you to ever think that you have to change to be around me. You don't have to. Someone sent me a message and said, oh, man, I just made a joke about tequila with you yesterday. And I said, I'm still fun. Still fun. I promise you, it's not a stumbling block for me. I'm perfectly good. There's no temptation. We were at an event over the weekend, and one of our crew was drinking a beer, and I said, let me hold that. I just want to smell it and see what it does to me. And I smelled it, and I was like, nah, don't want it. Don't want it. No big deal. And they were like, why are you doing that? I said, which again, not a big deal. Don't want it. And so for me, it's been an awesome little journey. It's an awesome thing, and I'm not making a big issue out of it. I'm not going to walk around with it on my T-shirt, I don't think. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe if you'd buy some T-shirts, I'll make some T-shirts that said, don't drink. We'll see. I will always be a free market capitalist. Don't you worry about that. But no, it's been a joy. We'll still have fun. You can stand right in front of me and chug whiskey. I don't care. It doesn't bother me, tempt me in any way, shape, or form. And I hope you will. I hope you will come out to a live show, and then we can figure out whether it's tempting or not. I want you to go to watchchad.com, which is where all the fun stuff is. I've got live shows coming. Let me just give you a little rundown. Based on when this episode comes out. I'm going to look at the calendar here before I lose you. I am going to be in Alaska. I am going to be in, I wish I could see. I'm going to be in Midlothian on September 14th. The 6th and 7th of September, Alaska, Fairbanks. Then we're at 14th, we're in Midlothian. Then on September 26th through the 28th, going to be in Little Rock. Then we're headed to, wish I could see, headed down to Florida for an event in Sarasota, Stu Peters' event. Going to be in Paragould, Arkansas coming up. Going to be in Spicewood, Texas. Going to be back in Marble Falls doing comedy, Jesse Payton. Then we're going to be at the Tulsa Looney Bin. We're going to be in Omaha, Kansas City, Fort Worth. Going to be in Oklahoma City. Going to be in Wesley Chapel, Florida. Going to be in St. Cloud, Florida. Man, tons of stuff going on. And Do-si-Do right here in Spring, Texas on December 7th. Tons of stuff going on. WatchChad.com. You can also go check out the new designs on the T-shirts that we've got out there. A couple of new hats coming as well. PratherTees.com is good stuff. And have some fun with life, man. That's all I want you to do. Have a little fun with life. Take a deep breath. A very dear friend of mine had a tragic loss in the loss of her son this past week. I grieve with her, but it puts so many things in perspective. There are people out there who are dealing with tragic situations, irreversible, irreconcilable issues, things that cannot be brought back, barring some form of a miracle. And I'm telling you, when you look at your life and the circumstances that you are worried about, with all the victimhood and the navel gazing and the difficulties that you're facing, it can always be worse. It can always be worse. But you know what? It can always be better too. And so I want you to find that way of looking and thinking and believing. I believe Jesus can set you free. I really do. The preaching in the book of Acts is pretty profound when he says, whoever calls on the name of the Lord will be rescued, will be saved. And I encourage you to check that out. Go read it, find it. And this has been fun. Stay tuned, folks. We got a lot of fun episodes coming up. Hopefully you're enjoying the conversations that we're having. And in the meantime, keep praying for you. You keep praying for me. And I think we'll get through this wonderful thing called life. Enjoy it. I love you. God bless you. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye.